Just when you think Epic Games are listening, introducing the War Effort, the easiest way to vote for new items in Fortnite Season 8 by the people who play it the most. With the first battle finally over, the Shockwave launcher has officially beaten the Rift to Go, leaving one glaring question. What's next? We've done our research, and today we explore that question starting with one item everyone wants back, the pumpkin launcher and broomstick. With Halloween right around the corner, it's finally time for Fortnite to add back the classic FORTNITEMARES items, and every year they try to make FORTNITEMARES better and better, but there's not a chance that the classic Halloween features are forgotten about. I'm talking about things like the pumpkin rocket launcher, which is always added during Halloween and then secretly removed a couple weeks later. Last year's FORTNITEMARES also brought us a new item called witch brooms, and they were mythics that were practically a portable launch pad. They were so cool, but once FORTNITEMARES ended, Epic completely got rid of them without a trace, and everyone seemed to forgot about them. But a lot of the community is refusing to let them go, and we all really hope we can see them back in the game this month. But something that might actually happen is the return of the Flint knock. One of the funnest and most unique pistols we've had in Fortnite was the Flint knock. It first came out in Chapter 1 Season 8 and was vaulted for almost all of Chapter 2. We only got to use it during a Wild Week in Season 5, but it was quietly removed a few days later to make room for the hand cannon. The community loves the Flint knock, as you could categorize it with two words players want most: fun items. Which ties us all the way back to the War Efforts board. First, we built the mounted turrets and POIs all around the island, and then of course came the Shockwave launcher by voting. And well, it turns out that the War Efforts will eventually let us unvault the Flint knock. That's right, we'll soon be able to vote between that and the proximity launcher, and because of just how many people want the Flint knock back, it is sure to win. So I guess this is the part where I'm supposed to use my YouTube clout to help that happen, and I have no shame doing it. Vote Flint knock. And so unfortunately, not every remove feature has a big chance to come back, like the block. One of the coolest things Epic has ever added to the island was the block. I mean, it was literally a POI that changed every single week, and it kept the map fresh while exploring each other's creations. With how big creative is getting nowadays, it's actually surprising that Epic hasn't brought back the block. I mean, there are a lot of great creative maps out there right now made by dozens of talented creators, and imagine if we could have a taste of what's possible now on the block. They could even bring back the block and let it have custom settings, kind of like in Chapter 1 when we had areas like Taco Time, or maybe even holiday-themed stuff. I mean, imagine a haunted graveyard for Halloween. Now, of course, Epic secretly removed the block originally because of the introduction to Chapter 2, but some people think it's because there are quite a few controversial blocks out there. And so hear me out though, Epic, just, give it another shot and be stricter with the rules. But I guess it's probably not that simple, and while the block is gone, it didn't leave as big of a hole as snipers. This season, one of the quietest vaults we've seen so far was the removal of snipers, and yet it's probably made the biggest impact on the loophole in weeks. When the season began, something just felt different, and we couldn't put our fingers on what it was, but it turns out that the only sniper left in Season 8 is the automatic sniper. And honestly, with a zoom like that, it barely counts as one. So I think it's safe to say the entire community just really wants normal snipers to come back. We already had to go without them in Season 6, and that was painful enough. And so while we're desperate for these to return, we'd also really love to see the MIDAS flopper. So if we're talking about things that were removed and no one knew, we can't ignore the MIDAS flopper as one of the most sought after fish Fortnite has ever seen, but it was extremely rare. It was added in Season 4 and you could only get it in a specific part of the map, and then you also had a 1% chance of getting it with a pro fishing rod. But when Season 4 ended, the authority was actually removed from the map, and nobody realized that this meant the MIDAS flopper will be gone forever. After weeks, people finally figured out that Epic had vaulted it, and to this day, we're still hoping to see the MIDAS flopper return, okay? And yet it's not even the most OP consumable. That title goes to the golden mushroom. Okay, so the golden mushroom wasn't just secretly removed. I mean, its whole existence was a secret. Epic added it without mentioning it in any patch notes, and they have never even acknowledged its existence. They had an insane spawn rate of only 1 in 10,000. I mean, that's a 0.01% chance of finding one. And because they were so rare, barely anyone even knew they were in the game. And so when they were vaulted an entire season later, nobody even realized. And that brings us to today, where we're all dying to see the return of the mythic mushroom. It was so overpowered. I mean, this thing healed 100 shield in under a second. Probably not worth how rare it was, but if it was easier to get, it would be super OP. So who knows, maybe just keep it the same. But for now, we need to talk about mythics, bosses, and vaults. One of the coolest things about the earlier seasons in Chapter 2 were just how many different kinds of bosses and mythics we could find. I mean, it seemed like there was so much choice around the island. If we dropped one place, we'd have a difficult boss who dropped an OP mythic or be able to loot an entire vault. Not only have we been wanting the return of vaults and meaningful henchman bosses, but we'd also love to see Epic get creative with it. Like I said, Halloween is right around the corner. Imagine if we got a boss like Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger. I mean, if we could have Predator dropping an invisibility mythic, we could have anything, okay, people? And it's not just the earlier versions of Fortnite we want back. because we're also begging to see the inflatable. You have to admit, Epic have actually released amazing items in the last few months, and one of those was the inflatable in Season 7. I mean, this was a perfect addition to Fortnite. It was a great, refreshing, and fun item that we were all needing. And while we enjoyed it last season, it didn't last long. Unfortunately, when Season 8 dropped, Epic kept items like the railgun and recon scanner, but secretly vaulted the inflatable. So yeah, we'd really love for them to bring this one back. If not, then items that are wacky and fun like this are always welcome by the community, okay? Except there was one thing that Epic removed this season that has hurt a lot of people. Of course, I'm talking about the tac shotgun. Just like the sniper, Season 8 has secretly removed one of the most treasured items in Fortnite history, and that is the tac shotgun. It's almost never been vaulted before except a few times, and every time it's removed, nobody has been happy. So obviously, almost everyone wants the tac to come back, but we already know why Epic chose to remove it in the first place. And that's because we'll be getting new shotguns like the sideways shotty in just a couple weeks, so Epic is making a lot of room for them. But you know, Epic, just move things around and bring back the tac. I mean, we miss it a lot. And something we've been waiting even longer for is the return of classic traps. So this season, we got the first new Fortnite trap in years, and that was the armored wall. And it made us remember just how much we missed the classic OG traps from Chapter 1. We haven't had the original spike traps in over a year, and there was almost nothing wrong with them. They would still work perfectly in the meta today. We recently had the return of bouncers, but if anything, it just made us want them to permanently come back even more. And Epic knows we want these back. They're just teasing us at this point. Of course, naturally, everyone else is begging to see more vehicles. Last season, we got the first ever vehicle crossover in Fortnite, and it was the addition of Ferraris. Not a single person disliked this collab, and the community is bummed out that the Ferraris were actually secretly removed in Season 8. But they're not the only vehicle we want to see back. Everyone is also missing the feeling of riding around on a drift board or flying across the map on a quad crasher. Even ballers would be great to see. Fortnite, we want more OG vehicles. But there's a certain one that people have been wanting back. Last year, Epic removed cop cars, and we still haven't gotten them back. They'd be a really cool vehicle to drive around. They were even working on drivable cop cars a year ago, but the plans are scrapped. Think of the possibilities with cops and robbers, or GTA 5 roleplay. It would be so awesome. But sometimes all we need is a small change, and that is the upgrade benches returning. So technically, upgrade benches were never actually vaulted. They were just secretly moved somewhere else. Instead of just being benches, the upgrade function was moved into NPCs around the map. But this new way of doing things, it's just not that effective. And everyone agrees that it is way too expensive to upgrade any meaningful weapons. I mean, it literally costs less to buy a blue pump from a vending machine than to get one through upgrading. So it's almost like Epic has made the whole feature useless. In my opinion, this is why bringing back the original upgrade benches would benefit literally everyone. And so would the return of SLURP juice. Okay, so recently Epic added the chili chug splashes and brought back the regular chug splashes, so this item on the wish list probably won't be coming anytime soon. But it's still something that a lot of people are wanting back, and it was removed really suddenly the last time we saw it.
I never thought I would say this, but Drake, I have a slurp for you.
Slurp juices are just a classic healing item at this point, and it's sad to note that we won't see it coming back for a long time. And yet something that we actually had a chance to get back were the Rift-To-Goes. And let me tell you, these are definitely an interesting one. I mean, the Rift-To-Goes are really useful and loved by a lot of the community. And we actually had a chance to bring them back to the game last week when Epic made us vote between the Shockwave Launcher and the Rifts. And unsurprisingly, I mean, the Shockwave Launcher won by a landslide, but this doesn't mean no one wanted the Rift-To-Goes to return. It's just that the Shockwave Launcher's, you know, it's the Shockwave Launcher. Who doesn't want it back? I guess what I'm trying to say is hopefully Epic can still give us a way to bring these back without having to choose it over a different item. And before we have our number one spot, we have an honorable mention. And to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting this, but hear me out, the MECHS. Look, okay, I know everyone obviously hates the MECHS, which is why this is an honorable mention, but there's still quite a lot of people who kind of want them back. I mean, think about it. The only reason we all hated the MECHS in the first place was because of how overpowered they were. If Epic brought them back with much needed changes, they could actually really fit into Fortnite and be a lot more fun. Random idea, but we have the new Caretaker boss coming to Fortnite in a few weeks, and if the MECHS came back to help us fight it, I wouldn't be against it. And finally, our number one spot, we have the Guided Missile Launcher. Okay, I talked a little bit about how fun and creative items like the Inflate-A-BULL and Gravitron were, and that's why Fortnite has always been so special to people. It was items as silly as them which made the game so fun to play, and that goes all the way back to Season 1. I mean, we've had silly items since the game came out. And one of these OG Chapter 1 items was the Guided Missile Launcher. It was originally vaulted for being way too overpowered, and then they brought it back with nerfs, and no one used it. So hopefully if they ever bring it back, they'll find that perfect balance and bring the fun back to Fortnite. Let me know what item you guys would want to choose to bring back the most. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.